player interviews for the spring have wrapped up here at Woody Hayes Athletic Center. Buckeye Talk was here talking to safeties and corners. I'm Nathan Baird from cleveland.com, along with Doug Lesmerises and Stephen Means. Two of the guys that were going to draw the biggest crowds today were the second-year cornerbacks, Jakailin Johnson and Jordan Hancock, who look like they're going to play a huge role this year. Obviously, Denzel Burke is back. Cam Brown is back. Those guys could be the starters, but it's setting up to be a pretty formidable four-man rotation there for Ohio State if those young guys step up and do what Ohio State thinks they can do. Stephen, you got to talk to Jordan for a long stretch today. He was the one who played the more of those two last year. Just how does he feel going into this spring? Does he see a big opportunity here to be a pretty crucial part of this defense?
Yeah, I asked him flat out, is he on the plan that they said he'd be on when he got here last June? He said yes, and then he started to elaborate on the idea that show up in June, fight for a role on special teams, which he did, and basically just be, a reserve guy, cornerback, and then show up when he gets here in the spring and goes through his first spring, be ready to contribute and be a guy who's in this rotation. That's what we're seeing right now. As I mentioned in the text and in writing and on videos, that when Cam Brown, who's not full go, can't be in some of the competitive drills, Jordan Hancock moves up with the ones with Denzel Burke. So he's cornerback number 3 at this point. He talked about how he's seeing the pass rush start to get home, but also the raise in play in the defensive backs. It's starting to work in tandem again. The guys are getting – the defensive line, the interior guys are getting sacked, but then they're also getting picks. But then also the wide receivers have their days as well because Jackson Smith-Njigba, Marvin Harrison Jr., Emeka Egbuka, and Julian Fleming exist. But, yes, the vibe I got from him was last year was about learning because I showed up in June. And now in year 2, I'm going to be basically a co-starter along with J.K. Johnson, Denzel Burke, and Cameron Brown.
And I talked to Johnson a lot today. He had a rougher year of it last year. He finally got in a game against Akron on like the second play. He makes a tackle and fractures his shoulder and was unavailable the rest of the year. So it was we got a brief look at him last year. That was a frustrating experience for him because obviously everybody else's freshman season is unfolding without you. Denzel Burke's starting and Hancock's getting some reps and he's not able to play. But more than that, it was also, you feel like you're improving and now you've got to stop and get yourself healthy again and restart that process. But I think the mindset is back for him. And, Doug, when you hear that, like, Jordan Hancock is installed as that number 3 guy, and Jakailin Johnson is coming up, like, those are really crucial spots for this defense, especially because, frankly, Cam Brown has had trouble staying on the field a lot. They're going to need those 3rd and 4th guys to potentially be, Big Ten starting caliber guys as soon as this year.
And I like talking to young guys because in like a situation like this, it's a new defense, but they weren't – I mean, obviously they were practicing the defense last year, but they hadn't gone out and played that really much, right? So this is their defense. And Jordan Hancock is like super fired up about the Jim Knowles defense. He's super fired up about the aggression level and super fired up about the playmaking ability. He thought maybe the corners didn't make enough plays last year, and he thinks they'll do that in this defense and the disguises they're going to throw at quarterbacks. And, again, I'm addicted to talking about the way C.J. Stroud sees the game, and I'm talking to Jordan Hancock about that battle, right, and like how he said there's lots of times in practice we'll go back and look on film, and we have perfect coverage, and C.J. Stroud makes the throw anyway. And it's like, I was like, well, you're not playing 12 C.J. Stroud, so that's good. So then Jordan Hancock in the end, and we were talking about that because he seemed like he talked about the game for a young guy in a really interesting way. And he said, my football intelligence is my number 1 thing. And I was like, can I hug you? Like, I just, it's like, so now I'm thinking about Jordan Hancock and C.J. Stroud battling in practice. And that they said, he said they talk about that in the room. That's the talent equalizer. That like when you do this and that is, they're aggressive, but they're smart about their aggression with how they're going to get after it as a defensive backfield. And that sounds exciting. And I think Jordan Hancock and J.K. Johnson are very exciting in this defense, which is what people are going to want to see.
And one of the things J.K. Johnson said when he was asked about Jim Knowles and this new defense was they're putting me or us, the corners, in position to make plays. And it wasn't necessarily that – I guess that wasn't the plan last year, but it's happening now. So they're excited about it, and I think Ohio State fans are getting excited about it. And we'll get to see it next Saturday a little bit in the spring game. But between now and then, we're going to be talking about this a lot more on the Buckeye Talk podcast. And get the text 614-350-3315, news, analysis, updates from Buckeye Talk.